It is still day 11, and I'm back on the PlayStation 2 on the menu. That was the wrong button. But what I can do here is I can go to options and change disk speed to fast. Then I can close the console to load the game that I've put in, which is Crash Bandicoot Warped. And what the setting the disk speed to fast is gonna do is it is gonna give me faster load times on PS1 games. Unfortunately, you do have to set that every single time. There is no way to set that as a permanent feature, just to have it always on every time you boot up the console. You do have to set it every time. And generally, being able to have those faster loads with fast disk speed, plus in some cases, games tend to lag less on a PS2 than a PS1. That is why you would want to play a PS1 game on a PS2, preferably. But, I mean, it's not like... Oh, I don't even have a PS1 memory card in. I forgot you would have to switch memory cards.
Crash, why must you always muck in my mud? Oh, look, I have a mask helping me, too.
Obviously, for just casual play, it really isn't that big of a deal to have the slightly longer loads or a bit of lag in some cases on some games. I know Miss Pac-Man Maze Madness is a game that I noticed lagged less on PS2 compared to PS1. Yeah, Crash 3 is kind of going to be the same sort of experience as Wrath of Cortex for the most part. The only difference is instead of constantly sliding, I'm sliding and then jumping. But I'm not just jumping, as soon as I slide, I'm letting go of the control stick. And then jumping. So I keep more momentum and go a little bit faster. Not entirely sure if I'm doing it right, like in the fastest way possible, but that's how I know to do it. And then of course we still have water levels though. Can't really escape them, but yeah, then you get to these parts where sometimes you just have to wait for these cycles. There aren't going to be any of the mines that fall from the ceiling like there were in Wrath of Cortex. And there's not going to be any submarine sections either. But it's still just not that fun. Then we can get this thing, but you're not forced to use this the rest of the level like you are the submarine. If you get hit while on this, you just lose it, and then you go back to normal swimming. But obviously, because you can boost, it is faster, but can't bring it into the tiny tube. I probably could have tried to just go immediately down. Yeah, you can definitely tell, though, that in Huge Adventure, the water levels very much are based on these Crash 3 water levels more so than the Wrath of Cortex water levels. I mean, same types of enemies, same kind of gameplay, pretty much same everything in Huge Adventure. Which again is kind of weird that Huge Adventure does take the water level designs from Crash 3. Considering Huge Adventure was mostly based on Crash 2, and then it was Entrance that was more based on Crash 3. I don't think Crash 3 has any, like, real water levels, which is interesting. Also, this game is going to have I'm pretty sure the exact same number of levels as Wrath of Cortex. So the time for completion is just going to be based on how quickly I get through each level and boss and everything. And it might be a bit longer for this game than Wrath of Cortex, because I'm not quite as familiar with this game as I am Wrath of Cortex. Wrath of Cortex and Huge Adventure are the two Crash games I'm most familiar with. But I've beaten this game multiple times. I've beaten Crash 2 multiple times, so I definitely think I can do both of those. And then maybe also Twinsanity. And then definitely Entranced. Though Entranced will probably take longer than Huge Adventure, just because I think Entranced is a longer game, and I'm not as familiar with it. I actually wanted that. Although the movement is a little faster in this game than Wrath of Cortex. Wrath of Cortex can feel a little slow at times compared to the PS1 Crash games. At least movement-wise. Okay. Let's slide there. I think this first warp, though, does kind of illustrate kind of why I think Crash 2 is actually the best of the classic Crash style games, or classic style Crash games. Because if you notice, in this first warp, there are only 2 on-foot levels. You do 1 on-foot level, then a water level, then a tiger level, another on-foot level, and then this jet ski level. And I just think the game is more fun when it mostly focuses on, like, a main type of gameplay style, and that's most of what you do. And then occasionally there are some of the more gimmicky levels. But this game is like, there's just so many gimmicky levels. They just had so many different things they want you to do. But sometimes it just gets kind of irritating to just feel like I'm not playing the real game, you know? Because I'm just constantly doing all these different game modes. In Crash 2, I think, I mean, there are, like, the chase sequences, there's riding the polar bear, there's the jetpack levels and stuff, but I think overall Crash 2 is mostly the on-foot levels, and a lot of times those like gimmicks are part of the on-foot levels. Like the dinosaur chase is also a gimmicky level, but it's built into an on-foot level. It's not completely different gameplay. So I think that's what, to me, makes Crash 2 the best. Because even Wrath of Cortex also has the same problem where there's just so many gimmicky levels. Right, can you? No, not in that corner. I think there's a corner you can just stand in and the lines will, like, never get you. But definitely you can tell the, Tiny Fight and Huge Adventure was based on this fight. I don't know. The engine fight's also similar. The Dingo Dow fight's gonna be pretty much completely different, though. Interesting, though, that you can bring Aku Akus into the boss fights in this game, because you couldn't in Wrath of Cortex. They kind of swapped it with where you can use Aku Akus and where you can't in Wrath of Cortex. Because in this game, you can't bring Aku Akus into a time trial as soon as you start a time trial. It takes away all the Aku Akus you have. But then you can keep your Aku Akus in the boss fights, whereas Wrath of Cortex, you don't get to use your Aku Akus in a boss fight, but you can keep them for the time trial. As far as game overs go in this game, I don't think that should be too much of an issue. But the only thing that's going to do is basically just restart the level. Yeah, and then we have much, much faster ceiling climbing compared to Wrath of Cortex. Which is very, very nice. It's way, way, way too slow. Oh, it is so much faster, so much nicer. I don't think you can do the death plane thing that you could in Wrath of Cortex, where you take damage and then you walk on the death plane. I don't think you can do that in this game. But I don't think you would really need to, because it wouldn't be that much faster to walk on the ground rather than climb on the ceiling. The main reason you really want to do that in Wrath of Cortex is just because it's so long to do those climbing sections. I don't have too many problems with any of the levels, though. I actually... Oh, I already did this level. I guess I accidentally,
Crash.
went back in. Or went to a, oh yeah, level 7. I accidentally went to level 7 when I was trying to go to level 6. Which you can do it out of order, but I usually like to do it in order just so I know what levels I've done. At least these frogs are not jump out of nowhere and surprise you. Frogs, like in Huge Adventure. It's also interesting, though, that these frog enemies are from Crash 3. Even though, again, Huge Adventure is mostly based on Crash 2. Although some of the space levels, some of those enemies are from this game as well. Or maybe they're in both games. I don't actually remember if some of those enemies are in Crash 2 or not. Yeah, if I'm not making like too many like huge mistakes or anything, this game might actually end up being quicker than Wrath of Cortex, just because the movement's so much faster, so you can beat a lot of the levels so much quicker. I don't know, I kind of think Wrath of Cortex is probably the easier game, though. The 2 on-foot levels in a row, though, that is pretty good. I do like to see that. Followed by a motorcycle level. It is interesting, because they didn't... There are definitely things they did bring back from this game in Wrath of Cortex. Those scorpion enemies in the desert level are in Gold Town. The wizards in the wizard level are in some of the medieval levels in Wrath of Cortex. It's interesting they didn't bring back the motorcycle, but they still have a vehicle level. There's not as many race levels as there are in this game. There's only the one. At least for a vehicle race level, because there are a couple other race levels in some of the bonus levels, but they're different types of races. But instead they made the buggy, which controls quite differently from the motorcycle. But both of them kind of aren't very good to use. I really lost. Wow. That's pretty strict. If that's a loss. We also can't restart the level. We gotta go out and go back in. Yeah, so you really do want to get the boost, but the boost make the turning even worse. Not that it's that bad, though. I think you can just, I forget exactly how, but there's a way to just go from the wheelie back to normal, so it's not like you have to... Okay, just let go of X, and it'll go back to normal, so you don't have to worry too much. I don't know if taking the ramps is faster or not. My racing game instincts would tell me no. Because generally, yeah, that seems pretty slow. Generally speaking, in a racing game, being in the air is going to be slower than being on the ground. So if at all possible, you do want to stay on the ground more than be in the air. I still think I win, but could have been a little cleaner if I didn't clip that grass. And that's the main thing about the bike levels, is just once you get the boost speed, just keep it as much as you can. And clip those corners as tight as possible. This one, though, is definitely a lot less gimmicky. There's, at most, there's going to be 2 not on-foot levels. Could just be World 1's the most gimmicky, just because they wanted to show how diverse the gameplay is. But it did always kind of bug me that the first warp is just so gimmicky. It's kind of a problem as well in Wrath of Cortex. Because the first level in Wrath of Cortex is the only not gimmicky level. There's only 2 not on-foot levels, but each of the other 2 on-foot levels do have gimmicks as well. Because you have the dragon chase sequence and then the minecart at the beginning of level 5. I do just think it feels worse in this game to have the 3 gimmicky levels, since 3 of them are not on foot levels. I don't want to risk getting that Aku Aku. I don't know that I need it that much. It would be faster to get 3 Aku Akus, because the invincibility makes your movement speed faster, and you have better momentum. But it's not necessary for me to get to be able to, you know, beat the game any sort of quickly. Yeah, these pyramid levels, though, I think are the biggest things that make Entrance feel like very much like Crash 3. A lot of the gimmicks, like the oil and the guys who make the blocks fall down and the buttons that make the platforms move, that is all in Entranced as well. Whereas some of the other levels, like, kind of have something similar, but they don't necessarily feel that much the same. Because it's obviously, you know, a 2D level compared to a 3D level. But just how many concepts are reused from, like, super unique concepts are reused for the pyramid levels. Make it feel the most Crash 3-like. I do think, though, it is very interesting that they did base the Game Boy Advance games off of Crash 2 and 3. You'd think one of them would have been based off of Rapid Cortex, since that was the newest one. Dude, that part's kind of tricky. I do remember struggling on the Tiger levels quite a bit. I could also slow down. That is also a possibility, but very hard for me to feel like, well, at that point I should have actually been going faster. It is hard for me to feel like I can slow down, because back on the early days of Twitch, I would pretty much... Oh, come on, dude. Clip the top of that barrel. But back in the early days of Twitch, back when I watched Twitch a lot, I was constantly watching Crash Bandicoot speedruns. Mostly Crash 2, but a lot of Crash 3 as well. And they don't slow down in the speedrun, so... I've always played, like, that as well. Okay, well, I'm going back for the crystal. I feel like it is a lot easier in this game to miss the crystals than it is in Wrath of Cortex or... Huge Adventure. There's really only like 1 or 2 parts in those games that I could see someone realistically missing the crystal. But I've seen a couple moments that, in this game, they're like, oh, I could have actually missed that, just straight up not gotten it. You know, now I can do some strats on to try and make it faster. I just need to remember how to actually do those strats and when you can do them. I do also need to remember you actually have to press triangle to skip these cutscenes. In Wrath of Cortex, it was just smash A. I thought you could jump over, like, these crystal walls somehow. Oh, you can. You just have to spin. You have to make sure you can escape as well, but... Obviously, it makes it way faster if you don't have to wait on him.
You thrashed me, mate. No worries, but you'll soon be up against much worse.
That's already Warp 2 beaten. 25 minutes. I feel like that's a very similar pace to Wrath of Cortex. I do remember first warp being 10 minutes and then slightly longer for every other warp. I do think another very small reason that I actually prefer Crash 2 to Crash 3 is in this game, since they have the time travel mechanic, they can make any theme they want for a level. Whereas Crash 2, they didn't have just any random theme, you know, it was kind of just, you had jungle level, you had snow level, things like that, but well, it is cool that you can have any type of level you want. I actually do think I like it more when there is some sort of like central theme. You know, I feel like a lot of times people think with creativity that you have to be able to do whatever you want with it. So, oh yeah, we have to introduce this time travel gimmick so we can make just whatever level we want, and that'll be more creative. But I actually think a lot of times creativity comes from limits you place on it. So you have to creatively figure out how to work within that limit. And that, I think, makes it a lot more interesting. So Crash 2 being more based on nature and what like would naturally be there. You know, you have to work more creatively with what you can use, you know? So like if you have a crusher thing in this game, well, you can just use that in the future levels, and it's just a hydraulic press. In Crash 2, though, you can't do that outside of the space levels because a lot of it is just, you know, nature. It's rocks and wood and stuff. So you have these wooden beams that smash down, you know? You have to be more creative with how do we get this concept in this theme. And Wrath of Cortex as well does the... You know, you just warp anywhere so we can just have whatever theme we want, whether it fits or not. Oh, I already lost that. Oh well. What even was the power I got from Dingo Dial? I've not been paying attention to what powers I've been getting. I think it was the Super Stomp for... after the first boss. But I usually don't pay attention to the powers I get because I'm so used to playing, you know, Wrath of Cortex and Huge Adventure where I already know what powers I'm getting. Because I'm so familiar with those games, I know the order of the power-ups. But I actually am not super familiar with this game, how it does it. So I actually should recognize which ones I'm getting. If I had to guess though, I probably got the double jump. Because Wrath of Cortex and Huge Adventure both had it after Warp 2 is when you get the double jump. Do you want to go up? I guess you do, that's probably for bonus. I don't like not being able to see that far up. Never know when an eel's just gonna pop out. Guess the right answer there was actually to just go fast. Definitely do think, though, that the outside of the submarine sections, the main water sections where you're actually just swimming are way more engaging in Wrath of Cortex than in this game. This game is kind of just you swim a little, you stop, swim a little. Swimming's very slow, whereas even though I do think this game in general is a lot faster than Wrath of Cortex, definitely the water was so much faster in Wrath of Cortex. I'll be honest, when I saw this like pipe thing up here, I kind of thought that was the end of the level, because I'm so used to the green pipes ending the level in Huge Adventure. I guess I'll have to wait another cycle, because I didn't want to die right before the checkpoint again. I do appreciate, though, that mines not falling from the ceiling. That's definitely the most annoying part in Wrath of Cortex, since you just can't see them most of the time, and they just fall right on you. They're, like, really, really good at falling as soon as you get close to them to be able to hit you. What level was I on? Okay, I just did 12. Oh, I did get the double jump. Okay, that confirms it. It does feel like, though, that they tend to put the crystals just, like, halfway through the level instead of at the end of the level. In Wrath of Cortex, they're pretty much all, like, right before you hit the end of the level, you see the crystal. Except in a few cases, Cortex Vortex is notable for it not being just straight at the end of the level. It seems like in this game, every time I get the crystal, there still is quite a bit of level left. Or at least a decent chunk of level. Like, there's 2 full checkpoints so far after getting the crystal. Okay. I don't know if you can, like, jump at the top of the gate and just, like, clip through it like you could in Wrath of Cortex. I want to say you can do that in Crash 2, though, so it's probably the same in this game. And it looks like maybe there is a starting boost in this game. It would be kind of surprising if there wasn't. Considering most racing games have it. Which does remind me, I do need to look into those other Hot Wheels games at some point. I did see one that is apparently only like 20 minutes long. I'll need to... I'm definitely going to try that one out. But unfortunately, though, it seemed like there was only one other Hot Wheels game that kind of played like Burning Rubber. And I don't know how much it actually plays like Burning Rubber. But that's the only one that's like the similar 3D races. Which, I mean, if all of them were just straight up kind of the same as... Oh, shoot. They were all just kind of like Burning Rubber, and it was just different courses in each of them. I probably would have already been going through all of them. Because even though Burning Rubber was kind of a bit long, I know better how to play it now. So I could do it faster the next time I did it. So if there was another one that was exactly like Burning Rubber, I would already know what stats to focus on and how to beat each level. Everything like that. I mean, I need to do just more racing games in general because there are quite a few to do that are going to be pretty short and easy. That was just really, really bad. I do remember struggling a lot on the motorcycle levels. They are actually pretty tricky. And I hate how it has to boot you out of the level. We can't just retry. I don't remember if Wrath of Cortex does that. It's been a while since I've actually lost that Jeep level. Seems like the sliding is probably a bit slower, so avoid it if possible. I do really hate though that like if you bump into someone you just lose all your speed. They have really big cars, so it's a lot harder to avoid doing that. I definitely do want to take that ramp though, because I don't want to die again. I don't know if you can just like drive over the gaps in this game. It seemed like it was kind of like purposefully made to where if you just go over the hole, then you immediately die. Whereas in Wrath of Cortex, it's not like that. It's just, if you fall all the way down, then you lose. Oh gosh, dude, that was so bad. I need to figure out how to do that turning section. Those were some really, really big turns. If this guy wasn't killing all my speed, I'd have such a better chance at winning. No, I think I lose because... No, I win because of the boost pad. Okay. I felt like I was going to have an easier time going around the right side of that hole instead of trying to dodge it. That's probably going to take me 1 or 2 tries to... Or rather, 2 or 3 tries to do each motorcycle level, just because you really kind of have to learn the layout before you can win those. Which is also the same for the Jeep level in Wrath of Cortex. Because if you're not familiar with some of those turns, like you pretty much have to know where the hits are going to be so you can easily avoid them. Those guys are definitely a lot harder to avoid in this game than in Wrath of Cortex. They shoot like really, really slow in Wrath of Cortex, but they're almost constantly shooting, and the magic goes a bit further. Really, it's just kind of best to go around those guys. So it's entropy here, then it's engine, then cortex. All right, I think I remember kind of these last 3 fights though being kind of tricky. Maybe not tricky, but they're kind of long, especially this entropy fight. Because I don't think you can hit him until he gets tired like this. But you do have to wait, and you know, any small mistake is gonna cost you the run and make you have to restart. I didn't know those were gonna start going higher though. You gotta restart the entire fight. Because again, no boss checkpoints. Okay. There's also like a kind of awkward when you start moving forward and jump, you kind of keep a bit of momentum. Like the momentum's a little weird with how like jumps and stuff work in this game. And Crash 2 as well. Alright, that wasn't too bad.
My time is up. But yours soon will be too.
Alright, so the triple spin. Okay. Those mummy guys are also in entranced. Oh yeah, and these spikes. Just like all of this, they took pretty much every gimmick from these levels for entranced. Okay. This guy ever stop shooting fire? No, you're just supposed to take damage, I guess. I don't know how you're supposed to defeat him. Okay, don't take me away. I did not know those platforms could just take you. Okay, dude, I'm like pressing square, I'm just pressing it a little too late. I guess I do have the triple spin, so I may as well use it. I kind of want this extra life because I'm running low on them. It's just best to triple spin these guys. Which might be the intention behind them. Because I don't think they appeared before I got the triple spin. Maybe it's like going too close into that guy the last time. And so the fire was actually reaching me. Okay, very, very close. Alright. Those monkey enemies can be really annoying sometimes. Alright. Not a very difficult level, yet I still almost lost all my lives. Alright, the blimp level. Interesting that these are like, you don't get to one of these until pretty far into Crash 3. Whereas it's the first one of these is the second level of Wrath of Cortex. Interesting though that there's no arrow in Wrath of Cortex. Probably because, I mean, you can't do them in any order, so do you really need an arrow? Well, it seems like it's way easier to not take damage in this game. There's so many times where it just feels like you're being constantly bombarded. You're taking way too much damage in Wrath of Cortex. You can also shoot the blimps from so far away. That's really, really nice. Wrath of Cortex, you gotta get right up on them. If they hit the box, it'd be nice. Definitely it's interesting just how short the levels feel in this game. I don't know if that's just the movement I'm doing is a lot faster than a Wrath of Cortex, so they just feel shorter. Also, some of the gimmicky levels just don't feel that long. To be fair, that was also the same in Wrath of Cortex. The playing levels aren't that long. I think if I remember correctly, Wrath of Cortex ended up being just like barely under an hour and a half. It was like an hour 27. But yeah, here you can see a lot of these concepts, like this enemy and that laser beam and these platforms. This is, and this enemy. This is where Huge Adventure gets its space levels from. Although I don't know how many of these... Come on, dude, I was literally spinning. Oh, you can't spin into the side of them. Okay. That's interesting. I think you can in Huge Adventure. But they do more so want you to wait, whereas you can kind of just hit them in Huge Adventure. I don't know if some of these enemies were in Crash 2 or not. I think the other guys, the guys that open and close, that you can either spin or jump on them, I think those guys are in Crash 2. I don't know if they're in this game or not. But then I kind of feel like the spiky guys are also in Crash 2. And also those spinny things that make you do the big jump and spin are also in Huge Adventure. Also interesting, this is mostly a 2D level. I guess that was kind of common back in the day for Crash Bandicoot, but I don't think... I think Cortex didn't have too many, like, pure 2D sections. There were a couple, but none where it felt like the whole level was practically a 2D level. And obviously it's not pure 2D, you can still go move back and forth. But you're moving from right to left rather than back to forth. I wish you told the number of the level right next to it so I wouldn't have to look back at them. Are there 2 pyramid levels in the same world? Is that what this is? Yeah, that's interesting. I guess really though, this game is not nearly as gimmicky as I thought. It's just the first world is super gimmicky compared to the rest. But I mean, there's only one world after this, and there's only been 2 tiger levels, 2 motorcycle levels, 1 jet ski level, 1 plane level. So most of the levels have been on foot, and I do like that. Alright, I forgot you could just slide those guys. I was waiting for him to do something. But see, like, I don't mind this as a gimmick, because this is still an on-foot level. This is just a different way to... a different challenge for an on-foot level. And again, it's only with gimmicky levels. I only don't like them if either A, they are not fun, or B, if there's just way too many of them where it feels like I'm mostly playing gimmicky levels and not on-foot levels. I do want to actually compare, though, and see how many gimmicky levels are in this game compared to Wrath of Cortex. Which game actually did more gimmicks. Because Wrath of Cortex has 3 flying levels. Oh wait, also there are the water levels. There have been 2 water levels so far. Wrath of Cortex has 3 flying levels, 1 race level, 3 water levels, and 3 ball levels. Forgot about the ball levels. I do actually really like the ball levels in Wrath of Cortex. Although those ball levels do return in Entrance. That is one of the few concepts they did take from Wrath of Cortex in Entranced. I thought I could make it. Oh, that's actually kind of a far back checkpoint. Though I actually really don't like the ball levels in Entranced because you have such a small screen, it is way too hard to tell what's going to be coming up next. So I end up playing those just like really slow. Entrance, though, I do think is really bad about gimmicky levels. Because they try and have a lot of different types of gimmicky levels, unlike Huge Adventure, which was just water levels and then flying levels, and the rest are on foot. Entrance has just so many, like, really weird gimmicks. You've got, like, some flying levels where you have to, like, outrun something coming. It's got jet ski levels. It's got, like, weird, like, you're flying on a carpet, auto-scroller levels. And just a lot of them don't work in that game. Probably, honestly, why I prefer Huge Adventure over Entrance is just because the gimmicky levels kind of are really just not fun in Entranced. Whoops. I have to beat the boss, don't I? But the boss isn't here, which means I missed a level. Oh, that explains why it felt like there weren't that many gimmicks in this world. I do like these jet ski levels. I do think they are fun. But it's just when level 5 of Warp 1 is a jet ski level, and we've already done like so many other different gimmicks. I just get a little tired of the gimmicks. I do like the arrow in these levels, though. Just so you know where you're going, because with how render distance and everything works on PS1, it is quite difficult sometimes to tell where you actually can go, where you're supposed to go, so having the arrow just makes it way easier. I do want that box, though. I don't know if there's a break button. I was holding square, but I don't think it was doing anything. No, I think circle's the break. No, maybe not. Maybe there just is no break. I think there's at least one more motorcycle level, though, as far as other gimmicks go. And maybe there's another flying level? I don't know if there's another tiger level or not. Maybe there's an underwater level. I hope there's not another underwater level. That'd be the, like, last gimmick I would want there to be. I feel like there's another flying level, though, other than this boss, because this boss is a flying level. I do remember this boss being kind of tricky, especially compared to the Huge Adventure version, which is rather easy. Same kind of concept, though. Oh yeah, what makes this one kind of trickier is the same thing as with the fourth boss in Wrath the Cortex. You can just really, really drain your health if you're not careful. But it looks like for this one, what they want you to do is they want you... Well, first you have to, I guess, just hold so far to the left. They kind of want you to only attack him after he's done with that attack. Whereas in Wrath of Cortex, it's more of a move around the laser. It's so hard to get hit a lot of hits in a row on this fight compared to Wrath of Cortex and Huge Adventure. Although I guess I've been doing quite a bit of damage to them to where they all just die at the same time. Which you can't hit all of them at the same time in this game, unlike... And in Huge Adventure, unlike in Wrath of Cortex, where it's, whereas you have to wait for the cycle to start. I think this section's the one that's, like, kind of very tricky. It's definitely this phase, though, that the, Huge Adventure boss fight's based on. Again, if I lose, though, I do have to restart the entire fight, which would not be ideal. Alright, so you can't just hold all the way to one direction to dodge the missiles, you have to basically shoot them. As long as I get this section clean, I can have way more health during that final section. Now that I know more how to do it, it's not that bad. Don't know how I was supposed to dodge that missile, though. Okay, luckily I destroyed that bottom part as soon as possible. The slow-moving yellow thing is just really, really scary. Dude, I can't see the missiles most of the time until it's too late. Yeah, these bosses really haven't been as bad as I've remembered. Only a couple tries. I remember the final boss more, though. I'm pretty sure I know how to do that one. Unfortunately, though, I can't grind on Aku Aku's as well as I could in Wrath of Cortex. I mean, maybe you can do it, but you'd have to exit the level. You can't just restart the time trial. Because the time trial would just take it away. Come on, dude. Ah. That's so bad. I looked away from the screen, I'll be honest. I don't actually know what just happened. Maybe, did he not double jump, or did I just not hold the right direction or something? Come on, dude. I'm playing so bad. I'm like the easiest level in the game. It's such an easy thing to do. Just don't run directly into the enemies. I'm struggling on it. Actually, though, I kind of don't like these future levels. It's just too many, like, enemies doing, like, random attacks and waiting for cycles and stuff. I just don't think they're that fun compared to a lot of the other levels. They seem to mostly be the ones with the 2D sections, which I want to say that was true in Crash 2 as well. That the space levels were some of the 2D ones. That was definitely true in Huge Adventure, because the whole game was 2D. I don't think that should have hit me. I'm gonna lose all my lives here. You just kind of have to move forward a little bit and then just wait to see what enemy is going to be up next. Kind of a gimmick of these levels. If I just immediately went on there, I would have died because I would have ran into that guy. Dude, what was that on the edge? Yeah, I went too early. Dang it. I'll come back to that one. Would just be good to see if I could maybe get some more lives before attempting it again. I mean, I know basically how they want you to play it. They really just want you to take it in small sections. Like, they don't want you to play that level fast, which... kind of lame, considering the whole game you can really play most of the levels pretty quickly. And then just all of a sudden, here's one level where you do that and then you just die. It's kind of lame. I didn't feel Wrath the Cortex had any levels that were like that. They were kind of like that in Huge Adventure. It was just a little easier to deal with the enemies in that game. Because the hitboxes weren't so stupid. I thought he was gonna bump me into the pit there. I don't like that boost pad. That doesn't seem like a very easy one to get. Is it just me, or is this like the easiest motorcycle level? Yeah, there were not nearly as many turns, like tricky turns in that one. And it wasn't that strict either, because I wasn't getting many of the boost pads. It was just clean turns. So far it's a motorcycle level, as the gimmicks go for this world. Then just a normal on-foot space level, normal on-foot desert level. I will be honest, I thought I had Naku Aku. That's why I just ran right into a dude with a sword. I guess they want you to, like, wait more in this game than I want to. There are so many cycles in this game that... And so many enemies that's like, you just have to kind of wait for them. That I don't feel like Wrath of Cortex did much. But you have to wait for this fire to go out, the sword guys, they want you to wait for them to turn around. They're the moving platforms, you have to wait for them to come back and forth. The missile shooting dudes, when you get close enough to them, you have to... When you get you can't just get close to them and hit them, you have to get close to them and then wait for them to spin over and then hit them. So instead of just being able to, like, run through this section, I have to go here, in this carpet, and then just stop and make sure he's at the right part of his cycle so I can actually hit him and not die. It looks like they're just not giving as many Aku Akus, because that's not a problem if you have Aku Akus, because then you can just mostly tank the damage. And then you only are occasionally stopped by that. When you don't have enough Aku Akus and you're constantly having to wait for every single obstacle, it just makes it hell apparent that a lot of this game is kind of just a waiting game. Which is interesting, because I don't know too many games that are like that. It just feels like wait for each enemy. I knew it was a plane level. I knew there was another one. Oh, maybe this level's why you need the arrow, so you can find the exact targets you need, since they're going to kind of be similar looking planes. Oh, right, you have to shoot off the propellers. You can't just shoot the planes themselves. That'll definitely make this a bit longer compared to the other one, since you won't be able to just shoot them from halfway across the map. Honestly though, this plane level really makes me want to play the plane section in Slide 3. Okay, so they still can just, like, shred you and take away all your health just immediately, and then you just die, because... there's no dodge? I guess there's the spin. Is that supposed to be your dodge? Do they really want you to claw the controller like that, though? It's hold circle to fire. Press square to roll. At least though, the enemy planes, they do, like, wait until they're kind of on screen to start shooting. In Wrath of Cortex, they'll just fire from anywhere, so sometimes you'll just take damage and you just can't even see what's really attacking you. So I guess they do just want you to roll to avoid taking too much damage, but I'm going to try and get some health if I can anyway. I don't know why you have to be so close to them, though. can still just do so much damage, because even while you're rolling, they're still firing. They always get like a little bit of time to be able to hit you. The health wounds are so far away. Alright, it should be good now, though. So there's 2 levels in the final boss. So we'll see. Well, I'd have to go back and look anyway, but I do wonder just how the time will compare. Did I go back in the same level I just did? No, different level. But I do just want to know the time comparison to Wrath of Cortex, because I definitely going into this would have thought that Wrath of Cortex would be shorter, just because I was more familiar with it, so I'd be able to pretty efficiently do each level in a decent time. But I definitely had some longer deaths on some of the boss fights. It took me way too long to do that water boss. And the third boss dying on right at the end. In Wrath of Cortex, at least. The only engine was a kind of long boss fight death. In this game, because the end trippy one wasn't that long. I wish they give you 3 Aku Akus so you can get through this level pretty easily, because you have Aku Akus for the rest of it. I do wonder if you could just go to that part of the level, get the 3 Aku Akus, and then leave. Would you still have 2 for, this level? I don't even think this level really should be that hard. You just need to actually play it smart, play it safe. And use the triple spin. I'm not using it that much. I don't know why. Definitely gonna use it there, because I did not know if I was gonna actually make that gap. With how awkward that jump was. Right, and I have to remember just after each section, just stop, make sure I know what's ahead before I just rush into the next obstacle. There's a guy I can just go under, but I went too early like last time. Wait, so that invincibility got me through the 2 enemies I was struggling on. Oh gosh. 2 cycle-based enemies right next to each other. Still not as bad as that one cycle in Huge Adventure, though. You really want to be careful, though, because there was no checkpoint after that section. Do you want to know, though, what's determining sometimes when I can't double jump? Because there's just sometimes I press the X button again, and then I can't do the second jump. But I don't know what's causing that, so I can't tell when I'm not going to be able to do it. I feel like that's also in Wrath of Cortex, but I know how to deal with it in Wrath of Cortex because I'm just so much more familiar with that gameplay. Yeah, it really is, though, just for this boss fight, it's the constant Aku Aku and Uku Uku moving around that really makes it kind of scary. But it is still only 3 hits, which that was in Wrath of Cortex as well. I do just always find it interesting, though, when a final boss is kind of just the same length and difficulty as like all the other bosses. I want to say actually this is the easiest phase. Because you just move out of the way as soon as they get near you. You're not constantly having to dodge them. You just have to avoid the one spot they're in. Oh jeez, dude, don't want to get blown up. Come on. He wouldn't hit the right way. I just need to be careful not to hit him next to a bomb this time. And actually, I mean, it's just really hard when he's up against the wall, but I guess you're supposed to hit him into the wall and he bounces back. And you get the speed shoes like at the end of Wrath of Cortex. You don't get to use them because I've already beaten the game.
Defeated again? This is not fair! Maybe I should retire to a nice big beach with a nice big drink and a woman with nice big bags of ice for my head.
It's not over, Bandicoot. There are still the gems. We still have a chance to triumph.
I do think that was just about the same time as Huge Adventure, or Wrath of Cortex rather. I think it was honestly maybe slightly shorter. I could check real quick just to see. Not that it really matters how long it is, because the point of it is just that I beat the game. So this is 124.31. Wrath of Cortex was, assuming I in this video started my time. Wrath of Cortex was 1:23:11. Literally a minute 20 slower in Crash 3 compared to Huge Adventure, or Wrath of Cortex. Very interesting. So they're literally about the same time, because I could have done this faster than Wrath of Cortex had I done some parts in this game faster, like if I didn't game over or die on engine or anything. But to be fair, there were sections like that in Wrath of Cortex as well, if I didn't die on the third boss or anything like that. But that's very interesting. I guess it makes sense because same number of levels, but I guess this just kind of shows that even though some of the levels felt kind of shorter in this game and the movement speed felt faster, they kind of are the same length as Wrath of Cortex. Definitely very interesting. I honestly think, though, if I do Crash 2, that one's probably going to be the longest, because some of the levels, I think, are a lot trickier in that game than in this game and Wrath of Cortex. But it's still only day 11, and that is 25 games completed. Still are a lot of games I have that I know I can do. And there are still a few Crash Bandicoot games I can do. Plus, I mean, not only do I think I can do Entranced and Original Crash 2, there's still the Entranced remakes. Or Entranced, the Insane Trilogy remakes. I don't necessarily know about Crash 1, but definitely Crash 3, it's probably going to be about the same length for Entranced, or for the Insane Trilogy version of this game. So that's another game right there. I just need to figure out how I can do that. I need to look at my HDMI capture card and see if I can use that. Because I know I can, I know it works. I just need to figure out if there's a way I can do it without having to play with horrible input delay. Yeah, 25 games.